Hey y'all, my name is Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing my March TBR. Alrighty, before you get into anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments what is a blue book on your TBR this month. Alright, so it is the time of month where my planning brain is super over the moon because I get to create my TBR, and I have a lot of ideas floating around in here, mostly because Realmathon is happening this month and I am so excited. Realmathon is a month-long team-based readathon that was originally created by Covers with Cassidy. I'll put a link to her announcement video in the cards up above if you're interested in checking it out. I am going to be partaking in Realm of Creation, and one thing that is definitely going to be dictating my TBR for the month is you get bonus points for a book if it is blue or if it has an animal on the cover within my team. I'm gonna do my best to try and work a lot of these books into one of those two, both if possible. However, it's also just very convenient for me that a lot of books I'm planning to read this month are blue. Hopefully I'll be able to find books that fall into those categories for my TBR jars. So starting at the top with my physical TBR jar, let's do our first pull, and we're gonna do this one. Ooh, a 5-star prediction. I like that. What better book to do than one from my 5-star prediction list, Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. And then also I would definitely say this can fall into the blue category, though there is not an animal on the cover, I don't think. Well, I mean, obviously she has a tail, but I feel like that doesn't really count. She's a mermaid. As I mentioned, this was on my 5-star predictions list from, God, 2 years ago now. I'm really bad. I make those lists and then I'm so bad about actually reading the books for some reason. I don't know if it's because I just get two in my head or like I just want the fun of making the list. I don't know. However, I'm finally gonna get around to reading this. It is a Little Mermaid retelling in which we're following a woman who is tasked with collecting the souls of people who die in shipwrecks. However, she then ends up saving this life of this one boy, but it ends up having far bigger repercussions than either of them are expecting. I do know it has some basis in Yoruba religion and mythology, so I am really intrigued to see how that works into the story. I've been meaning to get to this one for quite some time, and here I'll finally be doing it, so thank you to this TBR prompt. Next, let's try for my digital TBR. I'm gonna do this one. Ooh, a cat pic. I'm gonna have to text her to ask her to do this for me. Okay, so Kat messaged me back and she chose for me If Only You by Chloe Leese, which is one of the Bergman brothers books. I know that. Oh, dagnabbit. She chose the 6th book in this series. Oh well, she's read all of the books in this series, so I'm sure she wouldn't choose a one further down if I had to read them in order. My type 1 brain likes to read series in order. It doesn't matter if they're just companion books, but it looks like I'm gonna be breaking that streak here. Newer cover is sort of bluish. Is also a sports romance, it looks like. It looks like the guy might play hockey and the girl may play basketball, volleyball, soccer. Wow, okay, you see I do real well with sports ball. To be fair, this doesn't look like a soccer ball in the original cover. Anyway, apart from that, I don't really know anything else about this. I have the first one of this series on my TBR, and I've been entering into the Goodreads giveaways for like every other one, which is why so many of them are on my TBR. So it looks like I'm officially gonna start into these. I've heard a lot of praise for them and I have been very interested. I think it does the thing where it's like a very big family and each book is a different family member's romance. So thank you to Kat. That's my digital book for the month. I am planning to partake in the Story Continued book club this month, which is going to be reading The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Kornichek. Works out really perfectly since I had recently hauled this and Paige told me it was going to be their book club for March. Plus it's blue and there's an animal on the cover. So bang. Perfect book. I know this is based in Norse mythology and I believe it's a retelling of Angerboda and Loki specifically. I really don't know that much about the Norse myths, at least apart from the Neil Gaiman book which I read, but it's been a few years and I am much more well versed in Greek myths. I am fascinated by mythology and folklore stories in general. Those stories also tend to give me the vibes and atmosphere that I really love. So I'm really hoping that I will get all of that here. I have heard positive things about this. I believe it does have a bit of a feminist spin on the original, which is why I've heard it marketed as similar to 𝗖cie. So I am really interested to officially pick this one up and try it out. Worked out so freaking well this month that this book was a book club book on top of the prompts that I'm trying to hit for Realmathon. I do have 2 arcs that I'm going to try and get to this month. First up is The Angel of Indian Lake by Stephen Graham Jones, which is going to be the 3rd book in his, is it Indian Lake trilogy, I think, which is the closeout of this series. The first one being My Heart is a Chainsaw. The first book I liked okay. The second book I actually really enjoyed, and I am so curious to see how this ends. I applaud Graham Jones's writing. I really enjoy the characters in this series after the second installment. I like the atmosphere of this town that he has created as well, but also just the way he utilizes slashers, classic horror movies within his stories is just so clever and well done, and I really applaud how he does it. I'm very, very intrigued to see what's going to happen with this final one. Obviously, I am not going to tell you any bit of a synopsis because it's the last book in this series, but I suppose I can tell you that we are following this woman named Jade who is obsessed with horror movies and lives in the town of Prufrock, Idaho. Yeah, that's about it. On top of that, I'm also going to be reading for that video How to Solve Your Own Murder by Kristen Perrin. I saw for fans of Knives Out and just kind of immediately requested this, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know why, because I've definitely been falling off reading mysteries and thrillers lately, but something about this just intrigued me. Perhaps it's the Knives Out comparison. This is following a woman who it was foretold that she was going to die, and she has spent the last 60 years of her life trying to stop that from happening, only to die anyway within her giant mansion. And now her grandniece, something like that, is trying to solve the case of what happened to her. That's all I know. That's all I want to know. I'm very interested to see where this goes. It seems like it's been getting a lot of advertising, so it's possible it's going to be like the next Thursday Murder Club series. And once again, blue and animal on the cover, so this one works out perfect. One book I would love to get to in the remainder of February, but I just don't think it's gonna happen, is A Tempest of Tea by 𝗖cie heç𝘁. It comes out tomorrow from when I am filming this. I'm absolutely gonna run out and get my hands on it. I cannot wait. I'm a little behind when it comes to reading for videos right now. As I said, this is a new release coming out from one of my favorite authors. I believe it's following a woman who runs a tea shop, but it is also frequented by vampires, and then they are planning a heist. All that together, a lot of buzzwords that I am very interested in. It sounds like it's gonna be cozy, it sounds like it's gonna be entertaining, hopefully a little bit of edge of your seat action. I've already heard a ton of positive things about this from people who had ARCs, so I am over the moon, ready to have this in my hands. As I mentioned in my last 2 TBRs, every month I am trying to read at least 2 books from the Star Wars universe. And so next I have The High Republic Path of Vengeance by Cavan Scott. And I am really excited for this one because it is a continuation from Path of Deceit, which I really enjoyed. I was very impressed at the way that story wrapped up. I just wasn't expecting them to go there. I am, however, a little hesitant because it is following the same character, or well, some of the same characters, and this is a completely different author, so I really am interested to see how the writing style shifts and how the voice of these characters changes. I'm not sure how that's gonna go, but the plot in this has me so excited. So the 2 characters we're following here are Marta and Yana, who are cousins, who are both members of this basically cult called the Path of the Open Hand, which believes that people should not utilize and bend the force to their own will, that it is this free, omniscient thing that everybody should have access to, and it should have its own will to do what it believes is right. So obviously, they're not huge fans of the Jedi. And in this one, we're continuing to follow these 2 cousins who are now starting to have opposing ideas about this cult. And that's really all I'm gonna say. I'm very interested to see how things wrap up here. I'm so excited. I think that might be rounding out the plot around the Path of the Open Hand. So after that is The High Republic Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. Thankfully, my brother owned this one, so I was able to borrow it from him. So it looks like the Jedi are really at the top of their game right now at this point in time, and majority of the free citizens in the galaxy have a lot of faith in them. However, there is a catastrophe that takes place in hyperspace and threatens an entire system of people. So of course, you know, the Jedi try to get involved and try to save people, but it gets a little bit more testy than they're initially expecting. The faith that these people have in the Jedi starts to wane. I'm excited one way or another though, so we will see how this goes. So far, my Star Wars canon project has been going fantastically for me, and my faith has not wavered. Finally, for these last few, as I said, unfortunately, I'm a little bit behind when it comes to reading books for video plans. So I gotta catch up on some of those. At the top is Bryony and Roses by T. Kingfisher. This is gonna be my first of Kingfisher's work, and I'm very intrigued as I've heard a lot of positive things about their stuff. But this one is a Beauty and the Beast retelling specifically. That's kind of all I really know, and that's all I need to know, seeing as how fairy tale retellings are definitely buzzwords for me. It is on the shorter side, so I imagine it'll be a pretty quick read, and I'm guessing it's gonna have some like romance elements going on in the story. I have no clue. I'm going in pretty blind, and I'm excited for it. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I am really excited to get to this one as I've heard a lot of positive things about it. Oh my gosh, I never picked up that there was a bird on the cover. Yes! In this, we're following a woman who's a ghostwriter, but also, unfortunately, can see ghosts. And when she ends up going home because I believe her father has passed, she ends up running into her editor, who is a ghost, in her family's funeral parlor. Every time I've heard this book described, all I can think of is the movie Just Like Heaven with Mark Ruffalo. So I'm very hopeful that it's going to be sort of like that. Poston tends to write really great romance books, as I understand, but they have a bit of a magical realism element to the story. And obviously in this one, it's that the main character can see ghosts. I'm very excited, but also very intrigued. This is one that's been on a considering TBR for quite some time, where I hadn't officially marked it onto my TBR, but I was really intrigued by it with everything I've heard on it. Then this video happened, and I'm officially going to be picking it up, and I'm really hopeful that I will love it, seeing as how I now own a copy. All right, y'all, so that is it for today. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe down below. I have all my socials, as well as a few ways you can support me, linked in the description. I come out with videos on Monday and Friday, but until then, I hope you continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!